Namaskar, Nilesh here. In the next part of Shraddha and Prajna, today I have got a question about the physical location of one of the ancient city that is described in many ancient Indian narratives. And there is an ongoing confusion about its precise location. In fact, the different viewpoints are so spread out that it should be, I would imagine, easy to decide where is its location, approximate location, and possibly exact location. Let's begin with the question. So, Shraddha and Prajna, part 4. All right. Again, as I said, I take email or sometime question coming in other social media platforms such as Facebook or Twitter and turn it into a clean. I don't remove anything that is relevant, but sometimes a person would ask multiple questions and that cannot be answered in one episode or one particular event like this. And sometimes I will clean it a little bit. Other times I'll just take it as is. Like in this case, I took it as is. Quickly, the person who asked this question, his initials BH, and we'll just refer to him as BH. He says, "Dear Nilesh, I am from Assam, and we always believed that PragJyotishpur is in Assam. Assam is the northeast state of India, for those who may not be aware of it. It is identified, it is as in PragJyotishpur, the city or a place is identified with a Kamarupa kingdom in modern times, the Kamarupa kingdoms of Assam, the northeast part of India, is identified with Kamarup kingdoms. The PragJyotishpur is identified with Kamarup kingdom in modern times. However, BH says, in some of your talks, that is to say, some of my talks, I have repeatedly claimed the location of PragJyotishpur or the individuals who were ruling PragJyotishpur, such as Naraka or Narakasura or Bhagadatta. Bhagadatta is the king who fought from the Kaurava side during the Mahabharat war more than 7,000 years ago, to be precise, 7,583 years ago in 5561 BC. So and what he's saying is correct, that in number of talks that I have given or in any talk that I have given, and if there is a context and a reference to PragJyotishpur or Naraka and Bhagadatta, I definitely would mention the location of PragJyotishpur, and that does not agree with the belief that the PragJyotishpur is in Assam. Okay, so what he's saying is correct, that I have repeatedly claimed PragJyotishpur to be situated in the direction west of India, whereas if you look at state of Assam, it is in the eastern part of India. In fact, what I have asserted is that the PragJyotishpur is not in the current India. It is not even in Pakistan, which was part of India. It is not even in Afghanistan. It is not even in Iran, but it is actually further west of Iran. And definitely it is also not in the northern direction. So north of Afghanistan, like Turkmenistan, what are the other countries there? Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and say western portion of China as it is controlled today. No, it's not there. It is west of Iran. Okay, and I'll briefly mention where I think PragJyotishpur was and what makes me think that that is where it was. He continues. He said, why do I say this? In spite of clear references in Hindu text about the location of PragJyotishpur to the east of Panchala. So east of Panchala, just loosely take this as a Uttar Pradesh, portion of Uttar Pradesh, possibly up to Bihar, portion of Bihar. And he's saying Hindu texts refer to this PragJyotishpur to the east of this area and therefore towards Assam. All right. Now, I do not know which Hindu text he is referring to. I am not saying that there are no Hindu texts which might be referring to PragJyotishpur in PragJyotishpur to the eastern part of India, namely Assam or around that surrounding area. But I am not aware of it. And BH does not specify which these specific Hindu texts are. This is a message, okay, to anyone who is asking the question. If you are claiming something, and if that disagrees with what I might be saying, the onus is on you to refer to specific text, preferably, and frankly, I will say I insist that you quote the specific verses with the reference number. If a translation is required, which is to say, if that language is not Sanskrit, and I would say even if it's Sanskrit, please find the translation too, okay? So that it's useful how it was translated and so on. So the BH did not provide any of this. And so he's wondering how come, or based on what I refer to PragJyotishpur, the PragJyotishpur of Naraka and Bhagadatta, the Bhagadatta of a Mahabharata, for example, to the west of India. Okay, so this is what I am going to answer in this particular episode. In the past, I have talked about Nyaya Darshana method for explaining something. So how I go about actually finding the evidence for what I am asserting, what I am claiming, is a process of Swarthanuman. Like, I may go in a haphazard fashion. I may ask someone, I may look at something, and there can be 10 different ways of doing things. Actually, there is a method to madness even for Swarthanuman. But the point is, especially once you have reached a conclusion and you want to explain it to another individual or group of individuals, okay, there is a specific method which Nyaya Darshana has found to be very effective, which is also the method of modern science, by the way. Very likely modern science borrowed it from Nyaya Darshana or similar Darshana-Shastra of India. That's not the subject today, who borrowed from who, but I thought I will use that Pararthanuman method of Nyaya Darshana, which is described in 5 steps. In some other places, you will actually find 10 steps. And maybe I will, at another time, I will describe this with the 10 steps. But today, I will describe this Nyaya Darshana. It's known as a Avayava framework, 5 steps, how you explain something to another individual or group of individuals. And it helps them understand it better. It's supposed to. Now, whether they understand it or not, it also depends on their intellect. It also depends on their tapashcharya. It also depends on their background knowledge and their emotional state. I mean, sometimes if they're stuck in just purely the Shraddha Buddhi or a Puja Buddhi, and based on that Buddhi, they have internalized, accepted a certain point of view, certain opinion. And if what I am saying, no matter with what kind of evidence and what kind of background and what kind of methodology, modern science, Nyaya Darshana, Sankhya, doesn't matter. The person may or may not be willing to give up that position, may or may not be open. So we should do our best in explaining it to others, but never worry, at least never worry too much about whether that person understands it or not, or whether that person understands it properly. Because many may not have the right tapasya, may not have that background, and some are just nuts. Okay, some are just nuts. They don't want to understand, okay, for their own reasons. And we should just do what best we can and just forget about it. So the 5-step framework of Nyaya Darshana called Avayava. Avayava simply means parts. There are 5 parts, therefore Avayava is used. The first one is Pratijna. In modern times, in corporate world and all that, you'll see these techniques being explained. They come under many different names. Another time I will mention some of the names used for it. Okay, but one of the important point is, like even in a corporate presentation, they will say, if you are making a presentation, right at the beginning, tell what exactly what you want out of this meeting or what you want to convey to the group of people. Well, here is the Pratijna. Pratijna is, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I'm going to emphasize. This is what I'm going to prove. What is the Pratijna? My Pratijna is that PragJyotishpur of Naraka and Bhagadatta was to the west of India. Now, why do I use the word was? Because right now, today, even in Assam, there is no place called PragJyotishpur. Now, if you travel to Assam, and somebody will say, well, okay, this area in the past was known as PragJyotishpur. That's possible, but there is no city, just like we have Nagpur and Nashik and Surat and Digboi, okay, and Kolkata and Lucknow. There is no place like PragJyotishpur, and that's why I'm saying PragJyotishpur of Naraka Bhagadatta was to the west of India. Now, Hetu is the reasoning, it's the logical reasoning. What reasoning I'm going to use to make this point, to assert this point? The Hetu is the descriptions of geography and cardinal directions as in the east, west, north, south, Agneya, Nairutya, Vayavya, Ishanya, northeast, southeast, okay, southwest, northwest, and so on and so forth. Descriptions of geography and cardinal directions from ancient Indian narratives in the context of India, of course, because we are looking for the location of PragJyotishpur with respect to India, and looking for the geographical descriptions for PragJyotishpur and also the cardinal directions with respect to India. So that's what I'm going to use. Udaharan, for example, is like a drishtanta. For example, in Ramayana, Ravana and his supporters, or his, what you can say, his clan members, okay, they are called Nairutyas, and Nairutya literally means southwest. Now, why southwest? Because Ravana's Lanka, directionally speaking, is in the southwest direction, that is the Nairutya direction, as seen from, let's say, the center of India. Okay, so like from Nagpur, just for simplicity. So Nairutyas as the direction of the abode of Ravanas, therefore they are called Nairutyas. Okay, that's what you see in Ramayana, for example. And therefore this is one clue, not the only clue, for knowing which direction to go looking for Ravana's Lanka, for example. We see that in the description of Hanuman going to Lanka. We see that in the descriptions of Ram and Lakshman and Sugriv and Vanara army following the mountain ranges of Saya, and then Malaya mountains, all the way going towards Kerala, towards the Mahendragiri, and from there building a bridge and going to Lanka. And then Upanaya is like, just like that Drishtanta, now using this knowledge, using the Hetu that is being claimed, and using the evidence which is driven based on the Hetu. So think of Hetu as a statement of a theory. Now we use that evidence to assert our point, assert our Pratijna. So what is the evidence we are using? I am going to use the evidence from Ramayana and Mahabharata, descriptions of PragJyotishpur and of Naraka, Bhagadatta, Vajradatta. And if you have not heard Vajradatta, you'll understand who that person is, from the descriptions of Ramayana and or Mahabharata, to make a point about the physical location of PragJyotishpur with respect to India. And finally, the Nigaman, it's like a conclusion, you can say, that the conclusion is same as Pratijna, if you notice now, that PragJyotishpur of Naraka Bhagadatta was to the west of India. Okay, so this is how you would explain it. Now what we'll do, I explain the Hetu, I explain the Pratijna, I showed the Udaharan. I actually gave what the conclusion is going to be. Now I will go into the Upanaya portion, actually showing the evidence and what or why it leads to that conclusion, and therefore it satisfies or justifies the pratigna. Okay, hence proved, the way we use in math, right? Okay, let's look at Ramayana. This is going back to 14,000 plus years ago. Okay, 12,209 BC is the year of Ram Ravan Yuddha. Just 1 year before that, you can imagine that as a time when Sugriva divides the Vanaras into 4 parties, okay, or creates 4 Vanara parties and sends them in the 4 different cardinal directions in search of Sita. One party goes to the east direction, another party goes in the southern direction, third party goes in the western direction, and fourth party goes in the northern direction. The party that goes in the western direction is what we are interested today. Now, this is a geographical map of the region of interest. This is our current India. You can see Pakistan here. This is Afghanistan. This is Iran. Okay, this is Oman, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. You'll find here Kuwait, Syria, and if you go to north of Iran, this is Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. This is the area known as Uttara Kuru, Uttara Madra. Okay, Uttara Madra, and if you come further eastward from there, east of Caspian Sea, but further east of Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, towards the western portion of China, now what is controlled by China, that is the area of Uttara Kuru, Uttara Madra. This is also the area as we come towards India, like the modern day India, like in parts of Pakistan and parts of Afghanistan, is a Kamboj, Trigarta. There are many Janapadas which were there, or Sindh. If you come here, the area of Jayadratha, Saurashtra is where now Gujarat state is, and so on. The reason I'm mentioning these is because these are what we are going to refer to as the Vanara party in the Ramayana times, which is going back to more than 14,000 years ago. They describe PragJyotishpur of Narakasur, or Naraka, going in the western direction. And as an approximation, I have put a star there, marked with a star, where I assert the location of PragJyotishpur was. Now, not exactly where I have marked it, but you can take this as possibly this broad region, portion of Iran, portion of Iraq, Kuwait, possibly portion of Turkey, Syria, that area, somewhere there was PragJyotishpur. Okay, as opposed to our questioner, BH, what he asked, or what he's saying, hey, look, PragJyotishpur, based on a Hindu text, which he did not produce those Hindu texts, what specific text he had in mind. Again, let me repeat, I'm not saying that there are no Hindu texts saying PragJyotishpur is in the northeast portion of India in Assam. Okay, and we will look at possibly what might have caused this. Okay, just whatever limited information I have, I will share with you. But this person BH is saying it is in Assam. Now, he's not the only one. Every time, anywhere in social media or in my lectures, if I bring up, or if for some reason the PragJyotishpur, Naraka or Bhagadatta comes into the picture, and if I mention this location to the west of India, someone will always stand up and say, oh, well, hold on, it is in Assam. And I would say, based on what reference? And then it will basically go downhill. You know, they will not able to quote any reference. I will quote the references that I'm going to quote today. And that's the end of that. Maybe that person still in his only Shraddha Buddhi and refuse to go to Pramanya Buddhi or refuse to go to Viveka Buddhi will decide not to change his or her mind even when the evidence is telling otherwise. Now, again, guys, that is your choice. But that is the very reason I'm doing this. Again, if you do not want to go beyond your Pujya Buddhi, Shraddha Buddhi, that is very important. But if it is taken in a dogmatic fashion, it can be a disaster. Okay. Now, it may not be a disaster for everyone. But then, you know, that person shouldn't bother fighting with others and trying to convince others as to where the PragJyotishpur is. You know, that's the point. Okay. So BH is suggesting that it is in Assam. and wondering why do I always insist that it is to the west of India. Just as approximate location, I'm showing it in Iraq. Okay, and I'll mention why possibly I say that. I'll get to that. Okay, so this is, and now let us see what Ramayana has to say. These are the descriptions given by Sugriva as telling the Vanara party going in the west direction where they should look for Sita. Now, remember, they are going in the west direction. So starting with the central India, he mentions some places. And again, I'm not showing you every single verse. I would encourage you to go to Valmiki Ramayana, Kishkinda Kand, chapter 42, and read these descriptions multiple times. Okay, this is not meant to be a spoon feeding. Rather, this is to encourage you to do your own study. Okay, so he mentions go look into the area of a Saurashtra. Okay, now they're going in the west direction. They will be going in the west direction. The Vanara party is still in Kishkinda, okay, in northern Karnataka of today. And Sugriva is giving them what to look for and some landmarks on the way. Okay, so look in the Saurashtra, then Balika. Okay, I'm not going to show you exactly where these regions are, but remember these words. You can simply go to, say, Google, for example, or Wikipedia and type Balika, and you are going to get information about where to look for Balika. It is in the northwest direction. Okay, it is in the area of, say, Pakistan or Iran or Afghanistan. That's where that area is, beyond Saurashtra in the western direction. That's the point I want to make. Now, it is saying which direction you should continue. It says, Girijala Avrutam Durgam Margitva Paschimam Disham. Guys, you are going in the west direction. Remember, you're going to find some ocean, some mountains, and some desert land like the India's third desert, Marupraya, Tatra Sthali Marupraya, Ati Uchcha Shikhara Shila. So they are going in that direction. That's the point I want to make. Now, as they go further, they're going to come across many mountains, many oceans, and so on and so forth. Panchajanam, area of a Panchajanam, area of a Hayagriva Danava. Now, the reason I mentioned this, again, I won't spend much time on Panchajana, Panchanada, and Hayagriva. But my point is, if you look at the descriptions or if you read the narrations related to Naraka, okay, you are going to find these names. Okay, so yes, it is connected in some fashion with a Narakasur. That's what it's saying. That's what I am saying, or that's what the Valmiki Ramayana is saying. Now, if you fast forward to verse 31, it very clearly says that after once you go this beyond many mountains, many mountain ranges, many lands, many areas, beyond Gandharva, which is beyond Afghanistan, Gandhara, okay, you are going to come across a place. Tatra PragJyotisham Nama Jatarupamayam Puram. You are going to come to PragJyotishpur, okay? Yasmin Vasati Dushta Atma Narako Nama Danava. Okay, a Danav with the name Naraka resides there, okay, or used to reside there, okay. Now, I'm not talking about the Vyakarana grammatical test. My point is, the reason I'm mentioning was there or used to be there is Sugriv is stating this. And now remember, this Naraka, this is going back 14,000 years ago, and Sugriva was saying as if the Naraka is there, or the land of a Naraka. We don't know whether he was there or not. So today we go to, say, Ayodhya, and we'll say that is Rama's land, right? But Rama as an avatar is not here right now. He was there 14,000 years ago. Something similar. Okay, so now what is interesting is many of the Puranas may have confused the matters, not just in case of Naraka. For example, there is in the Mahabharata itself, we have a reference to Vishnu already killing Naraka. And one sage shows the bones of that Naraka in India. Now, let's not go who brought the bones in India or whether the Naraka was killed by Vishnu in India. In Mahabharata times to Pandava, some sage shows this. Go read Vanaparva, okay? They are shown to Pandava, look, these are the bones of Naraka. Now, but we also get another story of Krishna killing Naraka, into the Puranas, not in the Mahabharata. So we must also separate where are we reading these descriptions. Okay, there is a difference between itihasa like Arsha Kavya like Ramayana Mahabharata and Puranas. Okay, Purana has a lot of information, but it is a confused state. Think of Purana as a gold mine. You have to remove a lot of dirt separate lot of dirt before you separate the gold. Okay. In comparison to Puranas, or relatively speaking, when you come to Ramayana and Mahabharata, much of the information is almost like you're going to a jeweler's shop, Okay. Yes. Everything is not gold there either, but most of it is gold, think of it like this. So first reference from Valmiki Ramayana, that the Vanara party going in the west direction, Sugriva is telling them that as they cross Saurashtra, as they cross the Indian Third Desert, or as they cross Afghanistan, as they cross Balika, which is in Iran, like go and check those. Beyond that, they are going to come across a PragJyotishpur of Naraka. And there are some references on the way to Panchajanam and Hayagrivam. And if you read many ancient Indian narratives in the context of Narakasur, you are going to find these names. So we know it's happening there, and a specific location is given. Now, let's go to Mahabharata. Now, Mahabharata, we have two sets of references. Actually, there are more, but I'm going to give you two specific sets of references which very clearly, without any confusion, refer to the direction of PragJyotishpur of Naraka, PragJyotishpur of Bhagadatta, one who fought in the Mahabharata war from the Kaurava side, okay, in relationship to the physical geographical location of India. Now, there are many other texts. For example, Harivamsha also talks about Narakasur. The reason I have not included is, and I will encourage you to go and read it, in those descriptions of Harivamsha, there is nothing that tells you anything about its specific location. And therefore, I did not include it, because today, the person who asked the question, it's not about whether PragJyotishpur existed or not. It is about the specific location of PragJyotishpur with respect to India. Okay, let's go into Mahabharata. As I said, there are two sets of references. This one is from a Sabha Parva. This is at the time of the Rajasuya Yajna of Yudhishthir. So for Rajasuya Yajna, what has happened is 4 of his brothers have gone in the 4 directions. So think of Hastinapur or Indraprastha, that area, which is think of as a New Delhi, okay, as a broad area. From that place, Bhima went in the eastward direction. So where? Towards Bihar, okay, then further to Bengal and Assam, and he would have gone to Myanmar and Thailand and way further. We just don't know that, specific identification is very difficult to do. Sahadev went in the southern direction, Nakul went in the westward direction, and Arjun went in the northern direction. Now just remember that slight difference, okay? So in case of Ramayana, the Vanara party is going in the westward direction. That is how the description is. But in reality, notice where they are going, okay? They are also going kind of in the northwest direction. Same thing is actually happening when Arjuna is going, okay? So these are the descriptions of Arjuna going in the so-called north direction, but in reality, he's going to northwest direction. And how do we know that? I mean, just because I'm saying it? No, you can look at the specific places he's visiting, okay? Anartha Desh, which is what? Actually, Gujarat, Saurashtra. Just like in Ramayana times, Sugriva is asking them to begin with Saurashtra. Same thing here, Anartha Desha. So that is also kind of considered as a, in Ramayana West, here it is considered part of the north. So like a northwest, Then Sakala Dvipa Vasamsha Sapta Dvipe. Now, if he's going straight north, up north towards Kailas, okay, he's not going to find the oceans and a Dvipa. Okay, that's the point. Okay, so that's what he's going. But then something very interesting. After that, he is, now this is a Mahabharat times, guys. Okay, so 7,500 years ago. He is going to PragJyotish, where I have highlighted here. Okay, he's going to PragJyotish. And this is a Rajasuya Yajna, which means again they have to gain victory over these kings or get them to agree to pay the taxes. Okay, be a subservient to the Chakravarti, so to say, like what Yudhishthir wants to be. And so in this case, Arjun goes to PragJyotishpur. Remember, he's going in the northwest direction. Okay, so he started west, Anartha, which is literally like a Saurashtra and Gujarat. But he is going now in that direction. You can take that as a west or north. And if you have a problem, you have to ask Vyasadevji, like why when he's going the north direction, why he's going to Anartha? Okay. But if you followed the Ramayana, you will see the consistency. So now he's going to PragJyotishpur, but definitely he's not going in the east direction. That is very clear. Okay. He's going to PragJyotishpur. And who is he meeting there? He is meeting Bhagadatta, the same Bhagadatta who fought from the Kaurava side during the Mahabharat war. Now, this event of Rajasuya Yajna is happening before the Mahabharat war. So he goes and meets Bhagadatta, okay? And then basically the Yuddha begins, okay? I will not go into those technical details that finally Bhagadatta agrees and, gives him blessings and they move on. Okay, just the continuation of that, like where Arjun goes after this, like here you see the word Kuluta. Okay, in other Patha Veda, you will find that as a Uluka. Okay, and there are some researchers, and I would agree with them, I tend to directionally agree with them, is that in Iraq, for example, you find the place Uruka. Okay, in going back to say from 2000 BC to up to 7000 BC, that's what the evidence exists. It might have existed before. So it could be that place, but because in this text, it is not Uluka, it's a Kuluta. So I'm going to skip it, but let's go further. Then he is talking, the Mahabharata text is referring to Arjuna going to Dasyun Parvata Vasina, okay, that area. Then see, he's going there from Anartha, going all the way to Iraq, because that's where I am asserting the PragJyotishpur was. And then he is sort of turning backwards. And now he's going to different areas. For example, he came to Kashmir, okay? But also Trigartha and Kamboj and Balik, okay? So I'm just mentioning these names. So from there, he's coming backward now, completing that cycle. He's coming to Kashmir, he's coming to Trigartha, he's coming to Balik, he's coming to Kamboj. Remember these names. If you already know it, hey, I don't need to tell you anything more. These are all Janapadas to the northwest of today's India. They are part of Kashmir, they are part of modern-day Pakistan, they are part of modern-day Afghanistan, they are part of modern-day Iran, they are part of modern-day the countries north of Afghanistan, and they are part of places west of Iran. Okay, this is the area where Arjun has gone, and then he comes back to complete the Rajasuya Yajna. Okay, so again, just note down so how Arjun would have gone from here, and same thing for Vanara party, but let's go with Arjun now. So he is going Anartha in this area. From there, he is going to these areas, going possibly meaning, assuming that's where PragJyotishpur is. Then he's taking a turn and he's coming into this Uttara Madra, Uttara Kuru area, coming downward here. This is Kashmir, this is Trigartha, Kamboj, Balik, and so on, and coming back to Indraprastha. So that's the area he's covering. Whereas more than likely what Nakul would have done is Nakul would have gone straight to this area. Okay, Nakul would have gone straight to this area and come back. Sadev went all the way to the south, and from here Bhima went all the way to the east. And you can see he going to Kirata, Nepal, all these areas, Wanga or Angadesh, okay, and all of this. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Now this is after the Mahabharat war. The Mahabharat war is over. Okay, Bhishma is on the bed of arrows for 98 days, then he passes away. Then Arjun goes to the north, straight north, okay, that time. You can read these descriptions. And he brings wealth because the treasuries are empty due to the war. And now they plan to do the Ashwamedha Yajna. And this time the horses let loose. The horse is going to go around for 1 year. Arjuna is following the horse with the army. And again, Arjuna and of course the horse, following the horse, they are going in that west or northwest direction. Again, you see which places Arjuna is visiting. This is from Ashwamedha Parva. after the Mahabharat war. Okay, Trigartha, you can again go and see where the Trigartha is, Trigartha kingdom, Trigartha Janapada. Okay, and when he's doing that, after that, where he goes, he's going further west. He goes to PragJyotishpur. You can see it here. And now, who is he meeting this time? Okay, Bhagadatta is being killed during the Mahabharat war, and this is happening after the Mahabharat war. He there comes across, meets Bhagadatta. Who is that? Son of Bhagadatta. And his name is Vajradatta. Okay, and I'll not go into the details, but there is a fight that goes on. Finally, there is a truce, and so on and so forth. Arjuna does not kill Vajradatta. Actually, he invites him for the Ashwamedha Yajna. Vajradatta agrees to pay the taxes or whatever the arrangement is. And just like Bhagadatta used to, his preferred vehicle, let's say, during the fighting was an elephant. In Mahabharata war, you will see Bhagadatta on an elephant. Okay. And you see that almost a consistent thing with Vajradatta also. Like Vajradatta is also fighting from the elephant and so on. Okay. So those are the descriptions. I'm going to go a bit fast through it. I mean, there is nothing else to show other than it's a consistency of a PragJyotishpur to the west of India. And yeah, it just goes on. The war went on for 3 nights and 3 days and so on and so forth. And finally, there is a truce and life goes on. Okay, that's the description. Okay, and you can read. This is Critical Edition chapter 75. This is Critical Edition chapter 73, 74. Do read it. I would encourage you to read it if you are interested in the detailed descriptions. Okay, all right. Oh, there is one more. Okay, and so after one more in the sense, after he has done whatever he has to do in PragJyotishpur, now he is coming back towards his Indraprastha / Hastinapur. And on the way, what is he doing? Now on the way, he is, and actually he might continue across India too, because remember, the horse is going to go all through the different kingdoms and come back to Hastinapur / Indraprastha. But while coming back, he is now going to Sindhudesh. Okay, Saindhavir. Okay, now who was the king of Sindhudesh at the time of Mahabharat war? Jayadratha. He's been killed during the Mahabharat war. And I don't know if you remember, but this is the Sindhu Rajya. That's where he's fighting. And if you know, and if you're not, then this is a new piece of information that Kaurava's sister, Dushala, that is here, was married to Jayadratha. So actually, the war is going on, okay, and Arjuna is an extremely powerful warrior, and he is defeating the soldiers of Sindhudesh, the Jayadratha's kingdom. But right now, there is no famous or strong king because Jayadratha has been killed, and Jayadratha's son, Suratha, is still young. And therefore, I just put the picture there that I found. Now, Dushala, Kaurava's sister, Duryodhana's sister, comes to the warfield with Suratha, her son, Jayadratha's son, with her, and request Arjun and tell Arjun that he's your bhanja, he's your nephew, whatever the right relationship. And please don't destroy this kingdom. And Arjun honors that request. Arjun actually tells her and also tells Vajradatta in PragJyotishpur before this, in the west direction, that Yudhishthir, after the war, he is again kind of very sad that he says, please, you are going on this Ashwamedha, but as much as possible, do not destroy or do not kill these kings who are there in different Janapadas, different kingdoms. So Arjuna, of course, honors that request. Arjuna stops the fight. Arjuna takes their blessings or agreement to pay taxes, and he goes further. And after that, Arjuna has followed around India, different places. Okay, you can read this. The key point is 3 descriptions, 1 in Ramayana and 2 in Mahabharat, 1 before the Mahabharat war at the Rajasuya Yajna time, and 1 after the Mahabharat war at Ashwamedha Yajna. Everywhere we are seeing a consistent descriptions and a cardinal direction descriptions for PragJyotishpur of Naraka Bhagadatta Vajradatta, son of Bhagadatta, to the west of India, but even far west. It's not just somewhere in modern day Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iran, but further west of that place. Now, why do I pointed it out as somewhere in Iraq? A while ago, and you can watch my talks either on my channel, on Sugriva's Atlas, or on Sangam Talks. Like there are two talks, part 1 and part 2 on Sugriva's Atlas. While giving the descriptions of the West region, I showed the way Baghdad, which is the capital of Iraq, is said. We say it in the Indian context, we will say it as a Baghdad. In America, they say it Baghdad, okay, Baghdad. But the way Iraqis pronounce it, and that pronunciation existed on the Wikipedia, and I don't know, because after I brought it to people's attention, they removed it. But recently, when I went and checked, it wasn't there. They might have restored it. The way they say Baghdad is Bhagada, Bhagada, Bhagada. And I just made a speculation, okay? But of course, speculation based on all this information, that it could be in the memory of a famous king of Mahabharata, Bhagadatta, okay? That naturally, like Lakshman becomes Lakhan, okay? Similarly, this could have happened and still remembered as a Bhagada. And even because of the spread of Islam and Islam taking over and much destruction, that memory might be lost, the connection might be lost, but the place was known, or place is called as a Bhagada in a local language. And I said, therefore, possibly that particular place or somewhere in that area was actually the location of PragJyotishpur. And if you listen to the description of PragJyotishpur, these are descriptions of a well-settled place, very rich place. And the place of Baghdad is actually like that. It's a what you can say, Pratishthan. It is where the location where two rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, are coming together, and so on. Okay, all right. Now, so again, you see the contrast in two locations. Now the question is, where does this PragJyotishpur and its location being in Assam comes from? Well, frankly, my answer is I don't know. But I tried to search, and I just tried PragJyotishpur. Again, I did it now in order to respond to this individual, but I have done this before, and I always get some information about that in a like Google search. PragJyotishpur in Assam. And when I did this on Wikipedia, this is what I found. I have given you the link, so anyone curious can explore it further. And at that link, what I found is this, and I'm simply sharing it for individuals to explore this further. Those who are curious, the curiosity cannot be just a kutuhal idea, just an idle curiosity. It has to be saprayojana sandigdha, like, it has to be something with a purpose. Someone should feel passionate about it. I am not passionate about the location of PragJyotishpur. I'm simply trying to state what is there in Ramayana and Mahabharata, but now I'm just only mentioning it because people continue to ask. And so now next time somebody asks, I would say, go to the Nilesh channel on YouTube, type PragJyotishpur, find this talk and listen to it. But to those who might be interested in exploring it further, possibly trying to see how that PragJyotishpur got mapped out as something in Assam. Now, it's just not the location, because remember, actually, there can be many places with the same name. Like if you take, say, Rampur, how many Rampurs are out there? Many in India. So that's not the issue. Okay. If you take a place like Nagpur, there are many Nagpur. So that's not the issue. We are talking about not only the place called PragJyotishpur, because that could be there in Assam, there could be many PragJyotishpur. I don't know, but they could be in India. But a PragJyotishpur that is even connected with Naraka and Bhagadatta. And this is what I found at this wiki page. I don't know the source of it. There are some references given, but if you feel curious, don't come to me and ask me to explore this. I am not interested. I'm just saying, if you feel curious, okay, such as say BH, who feels passionate about this, then they have to explore this. What it says is that one king, Bhaskar Varman of Varman dynasty, belongs to 6th, 7th century, somewhere there. He attempted, he connected, or he asserted, he made a point, he claimed his lineage from Naraka and Bhagadatta of the legendary PragJyotisha. Okay. And this is a Wikipedia link or Wikipedia description he might have done for political reasons, but that's a typical Western view of seeing everything Indian, because they cannot go anything beyond, like either it is like, pulling wealth from somebody else or something. So they might state that, but this could be true. This may not be true. This is something one must explore if one is curious. But the point is, Bhaskar Varman, it appears, of Varman dynasty, made a claim that his lineage came from Naraka, Bhagadatta, and therefore PragJyotish. And it seems that additional kingdoms or future kings, such as this Pala dynasty or Mlenchas dynasty or whoever, they also claimed similar connection with Naraka, Bhagadatta, and PragJyotishpur. And that could be the basis why somehow people started thinking PragJyotishpur in Assam. Okay, this is just based on a Wikipedia information. So that goes back to 6th, 7th century, so about 1400 years ago. There could be additional references going beyond Bhaskar Varman that might show somebody else making a similar claim, and therefore Bhaskar Varman was doing it. I don't know that, but that is how a research ought to be done if someone is curious about it. Okay, so that kind of completes the answer to this individual BH. Quickly, in these three books, I have not discussed, of course, you will find the mention of Bhagadatta into the Mahabharata, when did Mahabharata war happen, or Bhishma Nirvan, but not any discussion on PragJyotishpur. But Ramayana is worth reading for that. The reference that I gave you, Vanara party going in the western direction, or if you are just curious to understand how we actually take a tough problem when there is a sanshay, because there is a conflict. There are multiple claims for one specific reality, whether it is the year of Mahabharat war, whether it is the year of Ram Ravan Yuddha, whether it is the year of Krishna's birth year, whether it is the year of Rama's birth year, okay, or when Ravana was killed, or when Rama was coronated, after he returned from he returned from Lanka to Ayodhya, and so on. How long Bhishma was on the bed of arrows. I mean, the majority, 99% of the people in a very lazy fashion are stuck with 58 days, and none of them can show 58 days for their date. Versus the reality Mahabharata is showing with 100 plus references that it is more than 95 days. Okay. So if you want to see when there is a doubt, how we go about resolving that doubt, similar to this location of PragJyotishpur, you may want to read these books. Not for the location of PragJyotishpur. That's why you have to watch this particular video. And what I showed you here, these are the books around the world. You can procure them from Amazon. Again, the reason anytime I have a chance to say this, I do say it, is because I do not want to respond to the questions in social media or through email. When somebody asks and says, when the books are going to get translated in so-and-so language, or where can I find these books? The answer is Amazon, guys. Okay. Now, but I went to Amazon. No, if you went to Amazon and you don't know the basic idea of just typing my name or typing the title of this book, maybe you're not ready to read the book, or maybe you're not ready to order from Amazon. Okay. Well, if you are in India, you have alternate choice. Again, you have to order it still. Okay. It's www.subbupublications.com. Again, Subbu Books Publication has a handle on a Twitter if you are there. I don't remember if it's on a Facebook. But guys, I mean, we have to become smart. Okay. Don't waste not just my time, but do not waste time of very few dharmic warriors, dharmic intellectual kshatriyas that are fighting these battles. Don't take their time for asking, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but asking questions which really is not helping them and takes away their valuable time, such as where can you find the book, or when a certain translation would occur. Guess what? If you are truly following them, keep on following them, keep on watching their videos, keep on reading their books and reading their blogs, and talk about that research to others. When a translation happens, you will come to know about it. When a new book comes, you will come to know about it if you are following them. Okay, so that is a request to all of you. And also understand, therefore, if you're asking these kind of questions in social media or email, I will make a point that I will not answer those, because those are not useful questions. They don't help anyone. And I have a small group of volunteer teams, but I have also asked them, sometimes they will respond, but I have asked them not to answer such questions, not because they should not be answered. It is because somebody is asking in a very lazy fashion. Okay, there are many efforts going on. My books are being translated into multiple languages of India, but actually now I'm happy to tell you multiple languages of the world. It's going to take its time. Also, my ability is limited when I don't understand a certain language within India, but also outside India. I have to take a leap of faith, trust the translator and let him or her do it at their pace, but also the quality of a book. But I'm willing to take that risk. So also be aware that when you are going to read the translation, sometime there can be some technical challenges. Okay, and I have no way of verifying that. As far as the expertise in astronomy is concerned, guys, look at various Mahabharata researchers around you, okay? And you'll find it sad and shocking and surprising to an extent that most of the efforts are extremely pathetic, extremely pathetic. And I'm not saying this to badmouth them. I'm saying this because that's the reality. And we as a dharmic individuals have to rise up, okay, to this reality, become aware of this reality and do something about it, which is to say each one of us has to take this, it's like holding the bull by the horn. Each one of us has to become intellectual Kshatriya. We cannot afford even to trust our own people blindly. Okay, and therefore, if you look at this particular series, the theme that I have started, I have the Shraddha and a Prajna. They both are required. They are always necessary. Shraddha gives you the karma shakti, and Prajna gives you the discriminating power to know what is truth and what is not the truth. But Shraddha gives you that force to actually go and do something about it, read, learn, become expert, okay, and so on. And I also have written few things there, which is what? A Shraddha Buddhi or a Pujya Buddhi, then Pramanya Buddhi, and Viveka Buddhi. Most of us, unfortunately, I will say, for this current time, that's very unfortunate, is that they are stuck, no matter which sampradaya you belong to, or whether you don't belong to any sampradaya, are stuck into Shraddha Buddhi. My guru said so, or I read in some book, or someone somewhere said something, some professor said it. You cannot trust academia just blindly. You cannot trust a certain book. Grantha Pramanya, Guru Pramanya, Shikshak Pramanya, Adhyapak Pramanya. Don't be just stuck blindly. You have to do something, okay, or at least be good in who you trust. And that's kind of, that also needs some exercise, some looking around, doing some quick tests to figure out who you can trust. But I would truly encourage you to go beyond that to Pramanya Buddhi, and not even stop there, to actually go to Viveka Buddhi. This is not to say that the Viveka Buddhi is the end, but for now, we are very much on the left side of the Shraddha Buddhi there, and we have a long way to go. So we need not worry what comes after Viveka Buddhi. When you get there, you will know. Okay, that is the job of a Viveka Buddhi. Again, thank you very much. Let me see if, I can quickly summarize this. So in summary, Ramayana and Mahabharata text and the references there consistently show the location of PragJyotishpur and thus of Narakasur, Bhagadatta of Mahabharat, war, and Vajradatta, son of Bhagadatta, to the west of India, and not just west of India in a sense of Pakistan, modern day Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iran, but further west to those places too. All other locations mentioned in this context adduce evidence. What I mean by all other locations is such as Trigarta, Balika, Sindhu Desh, Kashmir, and so those many places, okay, are those kind of places that were also described. That evidence, that all adduce in support of the location of PragJyotishpur to the west of India, beyond Pakistan, beyond Afghanistan, beyond Iran, that is to say, further west of these places. And I have conjectured, made a claim that the PragJyotishpur appears to be, the first thing, it's a very ancient place. It is mentioned in Ramayana, going more than 14,000 years ago. It is mentioned, and it is a very active place in Mahabharata times, more than 7,500 years ago. So it's a very ancient place, and definitely to the west of all these modern day places such as Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, definitely India, and definitely not to the eastern part of India. Okay. It appears that the 6th century Assam king Bhaskar Varman from Varman dynasty claimed his connection to Naraka Bhagadatta. I am not sure what basis he used. Okay. I'm not interested in pursuing this subject further. So if anyone is interested, please go study this. And when you find something exciting, interesting, share that knowledge, just like what I am doing. Okay. And lastly, quickly, just to summarize that, Ramayana and Mahabharata references are crisp, decisive about the location of PragJyotishpur, and thus, therefore, about Narakasur, Bhagadatta, and Vajradatta. Thank you very much. With that, I will see you in another episode of Shraddha and Pradnya. Namaskar.